And on to the Klingons. So before I begin with this, there was something I forgot to mention with the previous two videos, and that is, in Triptych's mod, I have a new system for refits. So I'm going to demonstrate this. So this is a Borg constructor. I can use Borg technology transfer. Bam, now we have Borg tech. I wonder if these overlap. I don't know if they do. Oh, maybe they do. Cool. So now we have all the technology in our faction. In Triptych's mod, you can actually refit existing ships into their Mix Tech versions once they're researched. So for example, the Romulan Mix Tech is a Borel with Romulan Mix Tech, and you can refit it after you have it built. When you do this, it will... Oh, I don't have a good example, do I? It will have half health and be unable to move for, I think, 20 seconds for Mix Tech refits. And then it will go into its new version. So you can't do it right in the middle of combat. All of the refits take time. None of them are instant. And there's also an extra cost associated with them. So the extra cost is the difference in price between the starter and the other one, or, you know, between the regular and the upgraded version, plus 20% of the refitted version. So basically building a lower ship and then refitting it into a Mix Tech version costs 20% more than just building it straight out of a yard. And this is also going to apply for the Romulan refits when I get to their faction next. So for the Klingons. First off, is the Katinga. The Katinga has gained the raid passive, so it deals bonus damage to freighters of other factions. Even though the Klingons already has some very good early game options, the fact of the matter is, in Triptych's mod, the first few minutes matter quite a lot. And the Klingons, I mean, getting their field yard. The field yard itself, the center bit, is more expensive in Triptych's mod, and then the extensions are cheaper. So it's cheaper, it's more cost efficient to have all three extensions on one of these yards. But still, it can be a bit hard for the Klingons to get ships very early. However, they have the huge advantage of being able to turn their miners into Katingas, which can go raid immediately or can defend you. So if you're on a relatively small map, you should expect to probably have to pop some Katingas if you're Klingons. Like, they are balanced that way, I expect it. If you're playing against Klingons, you got to watch out because their Katinga rush can be pretty deadly, but obviously that slows down your economic development quite a lot. So, other ships. The Borel has very little changed. Its special has changed its name to Battle Fury. The main difference is if you kill anything while Battle Fury is active, it gains the raid passive. So popping this on a couple Borels will give them bonus damage against freighters. So they're also pretty good at early raiding. And if any of them kill any ship while it's active, they will immediately rank up and they will reset the duration of the special. Also, it increases their speed by 10, so they actually go up to 150 speed when that is active. So, like, you still are going to need like 2 or 3 of them or some Katingas along to reliably deal economic damage, but it does make them effective raiders. The Quebec, almost nothing, except that its special is improved slightly. The Cavort, so the Cavort has the shield-breaking torpedo, which you can use while cloaked. It does direct oil damage. Historically not the most useful because unless it kills a Federation ship, it doesn't do much. And it takes, like 5 of these to kill a monsoon, so very low damage. However, in Triptych's mod, it has a 2-second weapon disable, which serves as very powerful early anti-cloak. If the enemy is like doing early Romulan warbirds and they only have one ship out, if you're watching it very closely, you can micro this ability. If they start to cloak, you hit them with the shield-breaking torpedo, and since specials no longer miss in Triptych's mod, even if they're like a Borel or something, you can still hit them. Their weapons will be disabled, and it will cause them to decloak, and then their cloaking device is on cooldown. It can also be used, as a micro-disrupt for other things like a sphere that's regenerating. One of the changes is the progression of technology has changed a lot. The field yard, or the battle yard, requires the field yard, and the Imperial yard requires the battle yard. So you can actually get an Imperial yard without any tech stations. However, it won't be able to build anything. The tech stations also go in a line. The field research is now required for the armory, which is required for the ordnance depot. And I think this just requires Imperial research is separate. But the field research is cheaper, but you are going to have to get it every single game. And Some ships, such as the Sang and the Caduge, require the field research. So if you just build a battle yard after a field yard, you can't build anything out of it until you get a field research. No skipping that step. Let's see. The Sang has almost not changed at all. The Caduge has had one of its specials change. So it has Imperial Stance as its first ability. Its second ability is Mass-Seeking Missiles, which used to be on the Voeckler refit. This launches 3 torpedoes. Oh, is it really 6 torpedoes? Dang, I really buffed that. So you click it, and it takes your energy regardless, but then if there's enemy cloaked units nearby, it will fire seeking torpedoes that will go hit them and disable their weapons and deal quite a lot of damage. So if you suspect, this is active cloak detect for the Klingons. If you think there's cloakers around, you can just hit that and you'll deal a nasty blow to them, because now they're decloaked and their weapons are disabled and might have been damaged as well because it's hitting them in the hull. So that's a very powerful anti-cloak, and then they still have their Polaron field as their ultimate. The Vorcha, almost entirely unchanged, although the Polaron torpedo is just really nasty because of the way that subsystems, because it doesn't miss anymore and because subsystem disables don't fail anymore, it's very nasty. The Voeckler has had a small defense increase and a cost decrease. It also has had additional targets added onto its photon racks, and its special has been greatly improved. So it does very good damage. It's very efficient because it also, it requires a lot of technology, because you have to have, well, I guess that would show. You have to have an ordnance depot in order to get them. And it always has comboed very nicely with the Vorcha because it has slightly lower defense and it has the torpedo dodging special. So you get some Voeckler together with Vorcha. The Voeckler will be auto-targeted and they'll dodge their torpedoes. The Vorcha have the higher combat stats and the single target attack, while the Voeckler have very good spread damage. And if you get like 5 or 6 of them, all with their concussion missile launchers, and you pop them all at once, you can do a ton of AoE damage. It also refits into a command ship. So when that happens, you'll see it becomes a command ship. It can command, I believe, everything. I think it's full command. So this is very nice because command ships cannot receive command bonuses. So you only have to upgrade like 1 or 2 Voeckler to their command variants, and they will give command bonuses to everything around them. The Chonak is mostly unchanged. The energy cost of its weapon has been reduced, especially, that's a bug I fixed later, especially with its special active, so it can basically just fire its weapon longer than it used to be able to. The Bortes is somewhat changed. It is more expensive than it used to be, and it has higher defense, much higher defense than it used to have. And its first special ability is the Combat Tractor Beam. So this requires very little energy, and it doesn't disable anything like weapons. However, it will lock an enemy down. So combined with the fact that you don't need any research for it, and the Bortes has very high defense and high energy, means that this is a very dangerous ability. You get 1 Bortes or 2 Bortes out, and you can start pinning things like spheres or warbirds, units of other races. This is an incredibly dangerous combo. Once you get Imperial Research, you can also unlock the Attack Probe, which just drops a turret, and then eventually you can get the super scary Ion Storm. The Negvar is a command ship, so it doesn't receive command bonuses, but it will command everything else. And it also has increased defense from before, and also an increased supply cost. Other abilities are pretty much unchanged, except for the fact, I didn't have one ready, did I? The large scale cloak used to cost like 2,000 titanium. In Triptych's mod, it only cost like 400 or something. So the price is getting Imperial Research. Once you have Imperial Research built, you can get large scale cloaking devices, and it's very cheap. So you can get cloaking on these 3 pretty quickly. Let's see. In addition, you have 2 sensor stations. One of them is the Scout Station. It does not have a cloak detect thing, but it does have very nice vision, as you can see here. It's a very cheap... Oh dear, I thought I killed off the AI, but I guess I didn't. So it's a very cheap way to get good vision early on, is throw down a couple Scout Stations. And then the other one, the sensor station, has the cloak detect ping, and it's like it used to be. Avatar ships. The Susa has increased speed normally. It's up to 140. However, its speed is reduced more when it has its special active. That's the only change for this ship. The Lispet, its changes, Field of Fire was actually broken in 3.27 and did not do anything. So it actually has an AoE hull damage special now, which is pretty dangerous. The Voeckler Aag has had its defense increased, and its attack has been reduced to a 2/3 firing arc. So it can shoot to the side, and it can shoot kind of back. Like, it could shoot the Negvar here, but it couldn't shoot the Lispet. But they're pretty dangerous if you get large numbers of them. They can do limited kiting because they can also engine disable. And the Charg has had its special changed to a turret disable. It is a 10-second disable. I'll probably increase it to 15 in the future because I'm making disables of this kind stronger. So it can disable a starbase or a turret for 10 seconds using this special. So this is because I mentioned I'm giving every race better rating options. This is sort of Takaraja's special rating option. However, I'm not certain it's super necessary because they also have the Vorcha, which can disable turrets using its special, but we'll see. For the experimental yard, the E-Gen is the automatic experimental ship. It is a command ship. It can only command small ships, but it's very fast. So you can use it to command like your Burrells and your Vorchas and stuff. It also has the scrambling probe special, which it drops, which that's not an accurate vision range for that. Because anyway, you drop the probe, it lasts for... I need to update this tooltip because it sends out waves more often than that now. But yes, it disables engines and weapons on nearby targets with a pretty dangerous rate of that happening. However, you do have to research it now. The Borg Mixtec is the Caduge. It has the Deflector Dominator special or passive, which means that its regular attacks drain energy. So if it is firing at a Romulan ship, for example, it might drain enough energy that it can't cloak properly. On my way. It also has very increased stats over the regular Caduge. The Federation Mix Tech is the Cavort that comes with tiny ECM suite, so it actually has a dodge chance against some things, and it also has been upgraded to medium range. And I don't think anything's changed with this yet. It also has slightly higher defense, so it becomes more of like an Intrepid style, like frontline fighter ship. You guys don't move. The Chonak with Dominion tech has its range increased to artillery. So it's the only artillery ship available to Martok. Its energy consumption for its weapon has gone up a little bit, so it is a little bit less efficient in combat, but it's artillery. And the Romulan ship is a Burrell that gains it effectively takes a Romulan cloak. It's also, I don't know if I finished coding it, but it's also going to be an advanced cloak that is not affected by regular pings, but it cloaks faster, and it has more damage, I think, or more burst damage on its pulses. I'm probably going to modify this in the future to make it a bit more effective. Maybe have it disable weapons on enemy destroyers or something. We'll see. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to make this, because the Burrell is an inexpensive ship, but a Mixtec variant should be potentially pretty powerful. The Klingon starbase is more expensive than other starbases to just straight build. That's because it always comes with weapons. Whereas the other ones, they can build a starbase that has no weapons on it, and then they upgrade the weapons. This one always has weapons because it also can build top maze, which can turn into Katingas. So I couldn't have it be as cheap to get out in the beginning. The industry upgrade for it is heavy industry, and it allows you to build this, which is the Shuvak. It is a new miner. You only need 2 of them to mine a moon, and it has a greatly increased mining rate. So if you are transitioning like in the mid-game, if it looks like the game is going to be a longer one, or if you have the money to spare, you can switch over to Shuvak miners for some of your mining bases, and then you could take your top maze and turn them into Katingas and send them a rating. And you will have faster income off of your moons than anybody else. And you'll notice some of these economic upgrades actually synergize very well with each other, because The Klingons still have no advantage for supply. So if you were to have a Klingon in a multiplayer game, they could get greatly increased mineral income. But if they were teamed up with someone who could get, a supply bonus, then you'd be able to combine your strengths. And I believe that is everything about the Klingons. Oh, finally, I have, for now, removed the Mokbara station. I might put it back, or I might put the effect back on a starbase someday. We'll see. For now, I just felt like it was very frustrating to micro, and the situations where it was actually used in the game were not very many. Okay, yeah, I believe that is everything pertaining to the Klingons. So, only one left to do.